How to practice Vipassana meditation. Vipassana meditation is a scientific way to realize the truth about oneself, in particular, truth about misery that one faces time to time in life. The reality and eradication of that misery is the Vipassana meditation, so that one can live happily rest of life. Our life is combination of mental and physical structures, which is called psychophenomena. Vipassana meditation or insight meditation is to learn to be aware of and observe our true nature of physical and mental phenomena. A physical phenomenon is called rupa in Buddhist terminology, which we can see it, we can hear it, we can smell it, and we can touch it, and also mentally can be noted. A mental phenomenon, on the other hand, is called nama in Pali, a Buddhist terminology which means our intention. The purpose of intention is to know, aware, and observe subjects. When we see, hear, taste, touch, smell and even mentally think, these two phenomena will be coexisting all the time. However, it is not effortless, easy or simple to notice these phenomena in normal life. Why can't we notice it? Most of the time, our mind is tangled with either past or future, which is normal behavior of mind. We love to plan for future and wish to be in happy memories. Almost all the time, we plan ahead, but in fact planning on the basis of past memories means living in the past. So, we completely forget this present moment, which is the most important and precious for whole our life. Therefore, although these physical and mental phenomena occur along with our seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching and even thinking moment, we are unable to notice it as they are occurring each and every moment. So, to notice as they truly are, or to know these physical and mental phenomena, one has to be aware of these times: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and even during thought moments. How can we do them? This noticing time is very important and should be understood properly. It is simple in theory. Practically, it is breathtaking too. Thus, when we are noticing or observing the moment, it is vital to bear in mind that we are ready to start from beginning every time it distracted. When we see any object, we have to mentally observe it as seeing. Once the object has been observed, notice it or acknowledge it as seeing, and seeing. It should be done diligently, attentively, carefully, conscientiously and continuously. Similarly, whenever other objects, like hearing sound, at first, observe that you are hearing sound and notice that hearing sound as hearing as closely as you can. When you smell something, observe it and notice it as smelling, and smelling. When you taste something, observe it and notice it as tasting, and tasting. When thought arises, observe it and notice it as thinking, and thinking. Being aware of these objects and observe it closely and notice it as they truly are. The process of this awareness is called the insight meditation. However, it is not easy to observe and know these objects at the beginning. We won't be able to see and know it all. It takes some time and depends on our practice. Therefore, at the beginning of practice, we need one object, which we can see and observe it clearly and make it as a primary object called Aramana in Pali. It is our starting point of contemplation. Any object that we define as a main object for contemplation is called the primary object or Aramana. It can be anything, solid or liquid, air or water. In our practice, we will take air movement through nose, which is certain and always with us. It is happening constantly, naturally. How can we take it as our object? When we take breath in, our abdomen will rise, and when we take breath out, our abdomen will fall. This process of rising and falling of abdomen is naturally happening all the time, which can be easily noticed and observed. So, we will take this constant naturally moving of this abdomen as our primary or main object of practice. When abdomen is rising, you observe it as rising, 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 and when abdomen is falling, observe as falling, falling, falling. At the beginning, it may not be easy to notice this rising and falling movement. If you can observe it, then there is no problem, but in case of if you unable to see the rising and falling movement, use your hand to observe it by placing one of your hands on top of abdomen gently. Once you have placed your hand on abdomen, then try to notice the rising and falling movement. However, be careful of your breathing in and out process. Try not to force and create or generate the system into long or short, but let it be as naturally it flows. The reason behind it, that if we are generating the breathing system as we wish, then not only unnatural breath, but that will make us tired, quick and bored. Further, we are not practicing breathing exercise but mental calm. Therefore, let it flow naturally as it is with no any addition, and observe it closely. Know it as they truly are, diligently and patiently. In insight meditation, in reality, the word see or naming is not important. Observation is only done by mental note. Awareness and being mindful is vital in the practice of meditation. When abdomen is rising, we have to see its beginning, middle and an end of it as closely and carefully as we can, being aware that process from the beginning till the end as similar as we see by our open eyes. Similarly, we have to be aware and mindful of falling process from the beginning till end closely and carefully. We have to try the process of rising and falling is followed by our mind constantly and continuously with no gaps between the rising movement process and the observing mind should be happening together like arrow hits the destiny. Similarly, so does the falling movement process. When we are concentrating on the rising and falling movement of abdomen, our mind may wander or thoughts arises, which is normal. Don't be disappointed and angry with it. In this case, be aware and gently observe it and notice it as thinking, thinking, thinking. 3 to 4 times of mental note will help to know it, and thoughts will stop generating. Once it has been stopped thinking, bring your mind back to primary object, which is rising and falling movement of abdomen. Therefore, while these thoughts arise, observe it clearly and notice as thinking, 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 and come back to primary object, rising and falling of abdomen. However, if you don't realize it earlier that your mind is wandering, don't worry. Just relax yourself and observe the moment that you are aware of. When you are aware of that moment, observe it closely and note it as thinking, thinking, thinking. If you see something or someone, then note as seeing. Seeing whatever situation is happening at that time, being aware and mindful of the situation without losing the feeling. If you are having thoughts, acknowledge it as thinking. If you are dreaming, planning, hoping, etc., acknowledge it as they are. If you are feeling bored, happy or upset, note them as they truly are, and mentally noting it, which is called contemplating on mind or Vipassana. Most of the time at the beginning of practice, we tend to tangle or generate our thoughts after thoughts, which caused more misery and uneaseful. So, all the mental activities that arise in our mind and creation of our mind, normally due lack of understanding, we grasp and attach with it as we grasp that thinking process as I am, mine and me. There are only mind process and its activities. Therefore, we have to learn to see and know as they truly are. Our practice will help us to understand and observe the arising nature of these feelings. The purpose of learning to practice insight is to catch or acknowledge their arising moment of those feelings at the beginning. Once we have recognized, noted and let it go, return back to the primary object, rising and falling of abdomen,